Well, hey friends, welcome back to fUNfiltered. It's been a minute, Sarah, since we've been together.
It has. It has.
So this is marketing talk for authors, so more than one. And I'm Carol Tetzloff.
And I'm Sarah Cormany, and we are just delighted that you are here with us today, whether you are joining us live or catching the replay.
Yeah, so this is, if it's your first time, where we have honest, practical conversations about what it takes to really get your message into the hands of your readers that it was written for. So there's no hype, no pressure, just real forward steps.
Yep. And before we jump in, if these conversations have been helpful to you in the past, would you just take a quick second to subscribe, like a video, or like the video, or leave a comment? We read them. We promise we really do read them, and they help shape what we talk about next.
Yeah, so you can help us frame our content. So over the past few months, we have kind of shifted our talk, and we are walking through a series together called What Successful Authors Do That Others Don't. And each of the conversations that we have take you one step closer to knowing, and they really do matter.
Mm-hmm. And here is what we've been noticing. It's really, really easy to listen, to take notes, and even feel inspired for the moment, and then not quite know what to actually do next.
Yeah, because when that happens, I think that it's not that the ideas that we're giving you or that you have after our conversation aren't good. It's usually because there is just so many places to focus and you get overwhelmed.
Yep. Yeah. So instead of continuing to layer on more and more, we're going to slow the pace a little bit. And I love when we do that because I am nothing if not slow. So not to go backward, but to be more intentional about what we've already covered so that it's practical and useful for you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because remember, real transaction and momentum doesn't come from learning something new. It comes from taking what you've already learned and what you know and actually putting feet to it, doing it.
Mm-hmm. So before we move on, let's go back to last week just for a minute. And after this live is over, we'll be sure to link that episode in the comments section if you haven't had a chance to already watch it. Because last week really wasn't about more ideas. It was about getting clear on what those ideas are. So who is your book actually for? And we gave you 4 practical steps to work through.
Yeah. And honestly, this is the place we always start. So here is the real question for you today. Did you actually take time and walk through those steps? Not just think about it, but sit down and do it. So here's the 4 questions. Did you go back and picture the one person you had in mind when you wrote your book? Did you identify the core struggle that they're carrying? Did you try to put into words clearly and specifically what that struggle is? And then actually use that language, that messaging somewhere within your marketing or your promotion or your bringing value to your readers last week.
Mm-hmm, because that is actually where the shift happens, not when you just understand the reader, but when you actually say it out loud in a way that makes that reader feel seen.
So good. And when you're being honest and thinking about it, like I really didn't get to that, it's not too late. You're on your own journey. So don't skip it because everything we talk about is really just moving this forward momentum that continues to build and build.
Mm-hmm. And this isn't one of those like nice to have steps, like extra, like, sprinkles on your coffee. This is actually foundational. If this isn't clear, everything else feels harder than it needs to be.
Yeah. So if you didn't do it last week, just go back and do it this week, even if it's just 15, 20 minutes, focused minutes. Because one clear message is going to take you further than 10, or is it farther? Further. Will take you further. I always get those mixed up. Do you get those mixed up?
We all get those mixed up.
Okay. Further and farther, except for Janet McHenry, who doesn't get anything grammar or wise. So one clear message takes you further than 10 vague ones ever will. So let's step into today's check-in. We're going to go back to a conversation we had earlier this series. And honestly, it's one that so many of you said this really brought me a sense of relief. And that is talking about our platform.
Yeah. Because honestly, before that episode, platform felt heavy for a lot of you. And I'll be forthright with you that it feels heavy for me some days, even after however many years I've had one. Like, you had to do more, maybe be more, show up everywhere, be frantic and frail and further, and another word I can't think of. But afterward, what we did hear from you is, oh, what a relief. That's way different than I thought it was. And you guys could actually breathe a little easier.
Yeah. So let's just remind ourselves in what we said, because it really does matter. And it will hopefully, again, bring you that sense of relief. That platform is not being everywhere. It's not about growing super fast. It's not about becoming someone you're not. Platform is simply building a group of people who know you. They perhaps trust you, and they want to hear from you again. And so that's all it is. And when you see it that way, it becomes something that is doable. And I want to remind you that when you're building your platform, 10 of your readers is better than 100 non-readers. So it's okay if your platform is small, as long as you're reaching the people that you need to reach.
100%. Bigger is not always better, especially when it comes to your platform. And the key is really nurturing, right? Is meeting them, providing value. And that's how that sustainability and growth really happens. So instead of reteaching all of that, because you can go back and rewatch the original episode, we're going to pause instead and ask this question. Are you actively building that kind of connection right now? Not in theory, not eventually, not next week, but right now.
Yeah, because I think sometimes this is where we kind of slowly drift away. And it's easy to think like, I'll focus on that after my book is finished. Maybe once everything is ready, when I feel more confident. But that's not what we see from successful authors that are actually gaining traction. They don't wait until it's perfect. In fact, we talked about this for those of you who are on the coaching call yesterday about our lead magnet. We don't wait till it's completely perfect. We go ahead and use it. And that's when they're going to start showing up while it's still in progress.
Yes, because guess what? It's never going to be perfect. Not from here until home. When we get to heaven, that's going to be perfect. But in the interim, we can't be so caught up in perfection that it drives us to inaction. Yeah. So what does this look like in real life? Let's make this really clear, because this is where it clicks or it stays really vague, which again, lack of clarity is our enemy. If platform building hasn't really started yet, it usually looks like this. You're putting most of your energy into the book, but not the reader. You haven't begun consistent connection anywhere. You're unsure of what to say, so you end up saying nothing. And you keep telling yourself, here's that procrastination, you'll get to it later.
I'm so good at that. Um, procrastination is my spiritual gift, I think, when it comes to my own platform. But when it has started, so when you've started building your platform, even in a small, steady way, it does look different. It doesn't have to be big. Remember, small, steady steps. You're sharing something with your reader on a regular basis. If you say you're going to show up once a week, show up once a week. You don't have to do every single day. When you're speaking into their situation, you're not just talking about your book and you're really meeting that need. You're creating oftentimes small moments of connection. So you don't have to put on this big show. You just have to show up with something small and usable, and show up even when it does feel simple or unnoticed. And that's the part that I think many authors miss. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And this matters more than we realize. It isn't just about marketing your book. It's about helping find the right person who will actually find it. And it's not easy, but it is doable. Because if your book never gets in front of the reader it's written for, it obviously can't make an impact on them the way it was meant to.
Yeah, I was just meeting with somebody yesterday who her introduction is now a letter to her reader. And it was interesting because as she wrote that, she recognized that there was one section of the book where she was like trying to connect with men and women and trying, when that target audience begins to get vague, that's sometimes when we get lost. But in doing that exercise, she realized, she's like, Sarah, I am writing to the one. And when she realized that's what she was doing, it gave her words purpose and it gave them intention. And that also applies when it comes to our platform. It's not meant to feel heavy. It's meant to feel life-giving. And you have been entrusted with a very specific message. And your platform is simply one of those places where you're placing your message within reach of your reader. So keep that in mind as you're going about these next steps, imperfect as they may be. So let's bring this down to something simple that you can actually do this week. Not 5 things, not a complicated full-on strategy, just one starting point. So step number 1, choose one place to show up. Pick one place where you are going to show up this week, not everywhere, just one. And that might look like your email list. It might be a Facebook group. It might be Instagram, or maybe it's just a small group you're already part of.
Yeah. And I think the key is this, that you should choose a place that you can come back to again the next week as well. So the consistency, pick the place that you're going to stay consistent. So then step 2 is focus on your reader, not your book. And Sarah, I love the idea about writing a letter. Like if you were to send your book to your reader, what would you say to them? Because that's going to really help you with your messaging. So that's a fantastic idea. So now when you're focusing on your reader, when you show up, we don't want to overthink what we're going to say because we're not really promoting. We're there to meet a need. And that's what that letter is going to do. So that, fantastic idea. So think about some of these questions like, what is your reader carrying right now? What might encourage them today? And what truth or perspective could help them take one step forward? And yes, the content that you're going to share and create and what you are writing usually does have to do with your book, but sometimes you pull yourself out of that. And I always use the example of, if you're writing a book. So a friend of mine, Andrea Fortenberry, just published a book called like 5-Minute Devotions for Moms. It's coming out next month. And And as I look at her platform doesn't necessarily take all the truths from her book. She's more meeting the immediate need of her reader. So instead of, and it could be a spiritual need, but instead of kind of diving in more to the spiritual and emotional pieces of it, she's like, a busy mom, they need fast recipes for dinner. So I'm going to help these moms get a recipe for dinner that they can make in 15 minutes that is healthy and good for their kids. So it's meeting the immediate need. So think outside of the box. It doesn't all have to be like this deep, content. It can be something fun and immediately usable.
Mm-hmm. And that shows that she understands her audience because she's meeting that need, not necessarily apart from her message, but as an extension of it. So I love that example.
Yeah.
All right. Step number 3, show up at least once on purpose. This week, your goal is simple. Show up at least one time intentionally, not just thinking about it, but actually posting, sharing, or reaching out.
Yeah. And what Sarah is talking about here is going to start building momentum and a habit within you. So it's not something that you're now like, check this off my list, go do the next thing. It's going to just become a rhythm that you step into. So the thing that's important, and this is really step 4, when you're showing up and when you're posting and when you're emailing or whatever it is, the platform that you choose to create space in for your reader, you want to stay in the conversation. So when someone responds, don't miss it. Respond back and start that conversation, because that's where they begin to see you. And then when they're out having coffee with their friend, they're like, hey, I'm following this author. Their name is, Sarah, and she has this book out, and she asked this question the other day in our Facebook group, and I answered it, and she actually responded to me. They think you're a pretty big deal. So be the big deal to them. Keep the conversation going. It's kind of like if Sarah and I were out having lunch together and I said, hey, Sarah, how's your daughter doing? How's the play going that she's in? And Sarah mentions something, maybe a struggle that they're having with the play. Maybe something happened to the lights. And I say, oh, do you have a dog? You see, I'm just changing the topic. Like I didn't even really listen to her, even though I asked her a question or put something out there. So stay in the conversation, because platform isn't built by content alone. It's built by those connections. And so keep connecting by keeping the conversation going.
100%. I think online we kind of lose our way a little bit, but it really does go back to, think of that front porch mentality that years ago, everything was in person, everything was relational, and translating that into an online platform, it's really going back to that one-on-one connection, caring about the person in front of you enough to listen, respond, and invest in. So if you are thinking right now, I haven't really been doing this, you're not in trouble. All right. It's never too late to start. So this week, this is your starting point. Just be intentional.
Because as the series says, successful authors, these are things successful authors are doing, and they're not necessarily doing more. They're just being more consistent, doing the right things. And over time, that consistency is going to compound. So if you have any comments or questions, we'd happily answer those. And we did talk about some videos that we've already done that kind of build up to this point. And so Heather will make sure that those are in the YouTube comments after we're done with today's live.
Oh, fun. Hello, Crystal. Hello, Carolyn. I'm not sure if I see anybody else that joined us today that commented. We're so glad you're here. And we are so honored to serve you and spend some time with you on a Friday, even live over YouTube, because here's another opportunity to have a little bit of a conversation and interaction. And we are hoping that you enjoy these check-ins and taking action we're really trying not to add more to your plate. We're really trying to help you use what's already there. So we hope that this has been helpful to you.
Yeah. And Crystal, I do love the letter idea. I'm so glad you do too. And your letter idea would be so perfect because you have kind of a wide audience with 3 different actually 4 with a children's book, 2 different books for the teen and the preteen, and then your book for women, and even like kind of framing. So when you have multiple projects, you may want to write a different letter for each audience member. And so for those of you who are inside Book Marketing Pro Academy, you know that we are here to help you and we're here to really guide you during our coaching sessions. So this is one of the things that we can focus on, not just learning about it, but actually applying.
Yep, 100%. And I even got Crystal's book, coloring book, and little cards in the mail today. Well, not today, actually, it was a couple days ago, but they are beautiful, Crystal. And again, just to watch your heart translate into your book, into the coloring book, into just your mission and your next steps for your journey is just a beautiful way to see what happens when we have one message that God has given us and we steward it well and we follow just those consistent next steps. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah. And I love your comment. I'm thinking, welcome back to my porch letters. That's so good.
That is so good.
So good. You could also do like check your mailbox.
Yeah.
You know, because we don't have porches in Arizona. We have mailbox like boxes that you have to walk to. Fortunately, ours is just across the street. But some of you live in places where the mail person actually comes and drops it off at your house, which kind of is foreign to me, but I get it. But I love that idea. So yeah, so if you want to learn more, you can go to bookmarketingproacademy.com. We'd love to have you join us in our group. You can find out more there, how to be a part of our marketing community and really work together.
Mm-hmm. And if you're not part of BMA just yet, no, you don't have to figure this out on your own. We will walk this out with you step by step by step.
Right. So just go to bookmarketingproacademy.com and find out more.
Yeah. All right. Before we go, here is your question for the week. Am I actively building connection with my reader, or am I waiting until later?
Yeah. And even what is that one simple way that you're going to show up this week? Just one step. Remember, just one thing. Or one more thing than you've been doing if you already have kind of a platform growing, because some of us do have some connection already. So what could you continue to do or even add something extra to your place that you're showing up? Because that's where the momentum is going to begin.
And we'll see you next time on the next fUNfiltered, which in fact will not be next week because it's Good Friday. So we will see you the following week. And look forward to talking with you soon.
Good call. All right. See you, everyone.
Bye-bye.